Keys for mastering Ascension. The Vika consciousness codes. Symbols. Symbols hold a mathematical pattern of intention, an intention of originally held creation. That intention gets downstepped in the form of mathematics to hold living forms of life forces that take on the shape of symbols. A symbol in its whole state is a being, a part of one of the consciousness streams. So we're co-creating when we use one of these symbols, entering a relationship of co-creation, calling upon the power of the symbol and the part of us that is manifest as that mathematical program. Symbols are alive. We are all symbols. When we see each other, we don't see the whole truth, just what appears to be under certain condition. This is the symbol level of ourselves. The symbol codes we use are just the outer body, the outside form, but they are conscious thinking forms of the primal forces that are intelligent and sentient on their own. The symbols can teach us many things. We exist as the symbols. Symbols are part of the consciousness that everything is made of. There's an intimacy to our relationship with the symbols when we realize we are using much more than just an inanimate dryness. The symbols are interactive, and will talk back when we get quiet and interact with them. It becomes interesting when we start to use the living consciousness of the mathematical programs of the Ere, Manu, and Ma'ane as they exist here in our bodies. Once we find that connection in our bodies and find that piece of the primal force within us, we start to have a co-resonance or vibration. That's not just about us. We start to feel as part of our own self, other parts of creation, including each other. We start to feel the oneness. We're dealing with templates of pre-light and pre-sound. What comes before what we know as light and sound. The symbols are God languages of light, symbol, sound, and color. When working with the symbols, we're really working with wave spectra. They are also specific mathematical programs that represent specific scalar wave patterns that go with the planets and our own personal shields. Shields are the templates upon which matter accretes, the templates behind matter. Symbols are light technologies because you can see them and their energy oscillates. Everything is a light-sound pattern. Everything has its core tone, the first expression of that form, whatever that form is. The codes act as a core set of specific mathematical coordinates. In activating the high Vikas, using the tones and images, which are all math coordinates, the more you'll activate, allowing you to personally plug into those fields and to accelerate the process of bringing in your avatar awareness. These symbols are already in Earth's and our DNA templates. We just use them on the outside and bounce them off ourselves, thereby stimulating them into activation. Symbols allow us to more rapidly wake ourselves up. Vika codes. There are 5 categories. Planetary low Vikas of Manu, Terenic Akashic codes. The galactic mid-Vika codes of Imanu, Akashic codes. And the universal level 1 high Vika codes of Emmanuel, Dolera Krishik codes. The cosmic level 2 codes of Imanuyana, Triadic Polaric Akkadic codes. And the God Seed Unisai codes of Akasha, source codes. The Unisai codes include the Akasha code, which is also called the Unisai Akasha God Seed symbol. All these symbol codes contain the electrotonal program, or Christiac mathematics, for the divine blueprint structure that comprises the 15-dimensional structure of our universe and our bodies. The Level 2 Imanuyana and Level 1 Emmanuel High Vika codes are photoradionic codes, carrying the mathematical programs of the Trianmij field Kundere primal sound and Ki, Ra, Sha primal light currents. The most powerful Unisai Akasha codes are photosonic codes, carrying the mathematical programs of the Kundere current primal sound Mij field, and their bridging God seed vibration rhythms connecting to source. The high Vika codes and the Akasha symbol are the first codes that we use in these technologies. They are universal time codes for primal frequency access. Following induction and activation of these codes, we can then move on to the more advanced Vika code technologies in the Flame Body Techniques and the Dance for Programs series. More advanced applications of Vika code technologies include the use of the Mid-Vika Imanu and Low Vika Manu codes, and the corresponding Suryas, body movements to direct frequency, following a period of initial induction and activation of the Unisai and High Vika codes. The Bivika and Trivika codes, universal codes of Emmanuel, facilitate the opportunity to open one's personal fields to the first levels of the primal life currents. The Ki, Ra, Sha primal light fields. The Ku, Da, and Ra Vikas, cosmic codes of Imanuyana, extend this process into the primal sound fields, Kundere. Using the Vikas gives us the potential to create trans-time bridges of frequency between ourselves and other simultaneous incarnations in other time vectors, all through the whole density systems in our 15-dimensional time matrix. Each dimensional field and the primal light and sound field have a set of Vika code programs that, when activated in a planet or being, allow the corresponding life force current, in its original organic eternal divine blueprint, or divine right order form, to progressively embody. Coupled with the Akasha, Manu, and related codes, these keys are universal navigational tools enabling the serious and diligent student to ensure that personal ascension efforts will be massively enhanced, focused, and aligned with divine right order. Together with their corresponding Manu codes, these are known as the sacred keys to the kingdom of heaven. These codes are those by which we genuinely open our fields to the primal life force currents called Source, God, or Unisci. We work with the symbol codes, the Vikas. The 12 Vika codes talk to the shields. The Maharic shield is the 12-dimensional portion of the shield that holds all the coding from D12 down to D1. The Maharic shield literally is the Vika and Eka codes. The symbols are alive as well. Each symbol has an identity that is a part of you. If you saw yourself without the physical mask we are used to, you would see patterns of light and sound geometrically arranged. Vika codes are mathematical programs that will assist your DNA to activate in very specific ways. It's the fastest DNA activation program on the planet. It's the original DNA activation program on the planet. It's the Founders Program, and it's the Christos Program. Vika codes are power tools. These are very intense multidimensional mathematical codings that speak to our body templates and create change. They are mathematical programs that go with our DNA and with the grids. They anchor the frequencies of D12 and the primal light and sound fields. They open up the grids to receive the high frequencies. We do this in sequence. First D12, then D13, 14, 15, light fields, then the sound fields. We open ourselves to receive these frequencies when we put them into the grids. Using codes brings creation currents into the grids and into our bodies. The currents go into our biofields even if you're not an indigo. Use of codes brings them into your creation matrix. It begins the process of awakening frequencies, consciousness, and energies that go with our Christos avatar level, Rishi level, D13 to D15, and ascended master levels of identity. They open up the DNA template to allow frequencies of consciousness into our body so we can start feeling like what we truly are. Vika codes won't activate in your DNA or body unless you have a certain level of D12 frequency subharmonics activated in your system, your Christos frequencies. D12 always refers to the Christos level carrier wave. Christos is the part of you stationed in D12. If you have not worked with the Maharic shield or Vika codes, you need to do the Emerald and Amethyst Awakening technique, the Kundera sequence. The Kundera sequence has to be done at least once this lifetime, or the Vika codes just won't activate in the DNA. It's the physics of the matter that's going to govern whether or not it's going to work for you. You need to work with the Maharic frequencies for at least a month before your system is prepared to hold an activation of a Vika code. Working with these codes in addition to the Maharic shield and the Merkaba healing exercises expedites restoration of the divine blueprint within our DNA template. The Vika codes link the planetary shields or scalar templates here and of Terra, Earth's density 2 expression, and Gaia, Earth's density 3 expression, into the shield of Arimatina, Earth's density 4 expression, in D12, then into the primal light and primal sound fields. The Vika code exercises also assist in opening the Maharic shield to the Rishiak shield and balancing the new frequencies that have been anchoring on Earth since the year 2000. The Rishiak shield is the level of our being in the fifth density or harmonic universe level in the primal light fields. In practical terms, the Vika code technologies facilitate healing of the subconscious mind, helping us to intercept incoming distortions or miasms that block the flow of God's source, perpetual life force energy flowing through our multidimensional anatomy. This healing will in turn allow us to receive, hold, and transmit greater and greater quantities of interdimensional frequencies for our own and client healing facilitation. Radial body healing. In one 15-dimensional time matrix, the human and indigo forms are composed of 5 3-dimensional density bodies called Hova bodies, Nada, Alfi, Betchya, Mahara, and Raja Hova bodies, which hold our consciousness and are templates of scalar waves. An energetic prematter tissue capsule called a radial body surrounds each Hova body. Although the radial body is described as a tissue capsule, it is a highly specific three-dimensional structure within which manifestation of matter occurs. The radial body is the body that radiates frequency, all the different currents, which are woven into every cell, a woven dimensional layer, three-dimension light-sound grids, formed by Merkaba fields. The field within the Merkaba field, egg-shaped, is the Hova body. Vika codes are specifically used for radial body healing. The radial body is composed of 5 Hova body tissue-like capsules of pre-sound, pre-light life force energy around and within us. It is the first part formed by the Merkaba fields. When you use the Vika codes, you're attempting to activate your radial body, your holographic skin. These capsules surround each density level of our own multidimensional anatomy. Every dimensional level has a little radial body around it. Progressive depolarization of the 5 Hova bodies and their radial bodies allow the being to ascend out of the 15-dimensional time matrix Vika quadrant and into the inner Eka universe first lower God world. The radial body is also the projection screen for the creation of our holographic experience, our manifestation machine. Distortions within our radial bodies create distorted holograms and thus directly determine the quality of the life we experience as manifest around us. It's the holographic refraction lens that allows the hologram to move through us, bounce in the energy, and bounce back to give us three-dimensional holographic experience. We are mutated down to the elemental level. Therefore, if you have a distortion in the mathematical program of, say, strand 2, you're going to have a problem bringing any of the higher frequencies down, unless you get D12 in there to reset what strand 2 is supposed to be. The distortions are the reason we lost our ability for direct manifestation. Distortions prevent us from being able to think a thought and have it manifest. We've taken on conditions when we came here to help others heal. We can use geomancies or symbols, the mathematical programs that the templates, blueprints of matter run on. If we reset the natural templates, it will progressively heal whatever is distorted in the lower dimensional fields. That's the whole principle of bioregenesis, what Christos realignment is. The radial body is the part of anatomy that controls, with the Cathra grid, the hologram. It's a living memory matrix. Cells are connected to this that give us cellular memory. The radial body tells the Merkaba what to do. It's where instructions get set. If there are distortions in the radial body, they are going to outpicture everywhere else. Vika codes don't just activate, but also work to clear the radial body. Radial bodies surround all atoms and nuclei. Vika codes work directly with all levels of the radial body. When using these codes, we remember how to speak to atoms and have them speak to us in return. We develop a conscious and co-creative control. We get currents not of just energy, but of pure consciousness. The forces of God will primal currents, Ere, Mana, and Manu, bringing them back into the cellular structure of our bodies. You're manually assisting your radial body capsules, and while you're doing all the other techniques for directly affecting your DNA and Cathra grid, you're actually hitting all the levels at the same time, getting the fastest activations possible. When you use the symbols, which are actually a part of the divine blueprint, you're activating things in the right order. You won't bring in a high frequency that will crush the scalar waves of the template below it. There's a divine order and a sequence that is supposed to be used. The mathematics which are stored within the Vika codes and Eka codes above them hold these sequences, so they regulate how the interdimensional frequencies come into the body, so you don't hurt yourself. You can't hurt yourself with these codes. First we open Vika codes and then Eka codes, but we actually move them at the same time. Our body and the part of God that lives within it have its own connection to Source. When we work with radial bodies and Vika codes to move radial bodies and speak its language, we're beginning to get the power over our elemental selves again. This is the part of your consciousness that connects to the universe in all the different levels and connects down to the nucleus of your cells. When used with Cathra healing, activation of the Unisci and high Vika codes within the personal body prior to conducting a Cathra client healing session will cause the facilitator's level 3 diotic grid to activate, temporarily transmitting Vika code subharmonics. This will cause the minute diotic chakras in the facilitator's fingertips to activate if the palm chakras have been activated with either pure Maharata current or a selected triadic phase current. The facilitator will then automatically transmit Vika code subharmonics into the client's diotic grid while conducting general Cathra healing applications, allowing the client to benefit from temporary radial body healing support, which will amplify the effects of all healing applications. Density levels. Vikas correspond to time vectors, time coding we all have in our DNA. How you get into specific time-space locations is coded in our body. The process of ascension is the process of opening up the different currents to each other, and progressively each level of the body opens up and you expand back into your wholeness. You don't go someplace else, or you don't tack on anything to make it different. You simply open up the locks between the dimensions that allow the bodies to progressively merge together and allow the frequencies to blend together. Ascension is density levels that you're trying to open, but the DNA has to be receptive. Vika codes have to do with opening these seals and opening them in the right sequence, because technically these seals are called frequency seals. Some are between density levels, some are in the body, some are between the chakras, some in the chakras, and some are also in the auric field level. In one 15-dimensional time matrix, the human and indigo forms are composed of 5 by 3-dimensional density bodies called hova bodies, each surrounded by an energetic prematter tissue capsule called a radial body. Progressive depolarization of the 5 hova bodies and their radial bodies allow the being to ascend out of the 15-dimensional time matrix Vika quadrant and into the inner Eka universe first lower God world. Vika codes 1, 2, 3 activate to dissolve polarity of density 1 radial and hova bodies, forming the arrow's flame body of density 1 integration. Vika codes 4, 5, 6 activate to dissolve polarity of density 2 radial and hova bodies, forming the Dora Maria flame body of density 2 integration. Vika codes 7, 8, 9 activate to dissolve polarity of density 3 radial and hova bodies, forming the Tura Maria flame body of density 3 integration. Vika codes 10, 11, 12 activate to dissolve polarity of density 4, avatar, radial and hova bodies, forming the Mahara Amoreye flame body of density 4 integration. Parallel universe Vika codes 1 to 12 activate to dissolve polarity of density 5, rishi, radial and hova bodies, forming the Raja Maria flame body and Vika crux sensation manu window for passage to inner Eka universe. Density 1 Eka flame body, Eka level 1, forms with activation of Vika crux sensation at center of Eucatharista eternal flame body. The codes. The high Vika codes of D, 12 Divine Blueprint and Primal Light Sound Trianmej fields have the power to restore all Vika codes and scalar templates below them to their original Divine Blueprint or Divine Right order. The 5 Vikas have to be activated in the system in order to use any of the other codes, blanket codes. Bivika and Trivika codes. The sonic translation, or the pure tonal signature of density 4, represented by the Bivika code is mu, ava, and the corresponding tone we use to activate this code is ma, ha, ra, ta, mu, a, va. Placement on the body is on the ball of the right foot. The sonic translation, or the pure tonal signature of density 5, represented by the Trivika code is ha, sha. The corresponding tone we use to activate this code is ki, ra, sha, ha, sha. Placement on the body is on the ball of the left foot. The Bivika and Trivika codes represent the mathematical coding releases for time continua. The Bivika code releases 2 time continua into each other, and the Trivika code is the code that can take those and link them into inner Earth. Inner Earth is the time continuum cycle that runs on the trions. So it's the trion continuum, where you still have polarity, but within the unity of the whole. Trivika codes are specific mathematical programs that allow biofields and planetary grids to open up pillars of frequency between here, inner Earth, and Mej time cycle. They are multidimensional, intense mathematical codings that speak to body templates and create change. This is the first level of symbols given to begin the opening sequences on the inner Earth portals. It will be different for everybody, but once you have these codes, you have the ability to begin having interaction with the inner Earth people. These access codes to open the inner Earth portals were highly protected, and only the Magi race lines, the Grail lines, were allowed to have them, and even those guys sometimes were not allowed to know how to use them. These are major codings that will open the inner Earth portals, but they are also the frequencies that will protect indigos and humans from the frequencies that are being broadcast. The eyeball part of the Trivika code, the Trinity code, is the transharmonic conversion point, the Eye of Elohii, the place which connects to the middle time zone, the inner Earth time zone which leads up to the shield of Arimatina area in density 4, the home of the Elohii. Frequent and continued use of the Vika codes along with the other Keylontic science technologies will progressively build critical mass of the divine blueprint program simultaneously within all levels of the 15-dimensional anatomy, eventually culminating in expedited full restoration of the dimension 12 Maharic shield blueprint within the body-mind-spirit system via the radial body trion, light, Mij sound field. The bivika, along with the trivika, are the visual translation of the mathematical coordinates of that bridge zone time vector. We can use those symbols, embed them in our DNA, literally embodying a portion of ourself that is stationed there and has made it through the change positively. We can use Merkaba to accelerate that and to clear the present distortions out of our template. The Trivika, Divine Trinity, three-way vesica, links us to source and the primal sound fields. Once activated in the body, it begins the process of embodying as much of your ascended master's level self as you can. If you are 48 strands, you can anchor whole Ekar self, which is your whole self at the first level of individuation from source. 36 strands, you can anchor 36 octaves of your identity, which is still at the ascended master level. 24 strands, you can anchor your Rishi range, all above avatar level. Human 12 strand can anchor avatar level. We can imbue the bivika and trivika codes into the grids and DNA template using Merkaba spirals. Once imbued in the body, it will activate potentialities to allow you to rapidly make the shift in angular rotation of particle spin. When the Mij zones open and you get an invitation, it means you'll be able to fulfill the invitation by going through. Within the Vika technologies, we also use something called salutations that are all about Merkaba. It's using the body itself to generate the proper spin on the Merkaba field. The way to use the bivika and trivika when you do a Merkaba is to put them on the bottom of your feet. You put the bivika code on the right ball of the foot, centered between the toes and the arch, and the trivika code on the left. You have chakras there, and you are going to be running your D12 frequency when you are doing a salutation. You will use the Merkaba velocity to literally burn down, or absorb, these codes into the planetary shield and into your DNA template. If we use the trivika and bivika codes personally with our Merkabas and keep those codes awake in our fields by doing salutations once or twice a week and simply use the codes, it can protect us from being affected by the frequency fence. These frequencies are being not just pinpointed toward indigos, but have an extra amplification just for indigos. You can also draw it at the bottom of your feet or use essence oils to do that. When you make the imprint, you don't have to use a pen. You can use eyeliner, henna, stamps, etc. Your scalar template does not read the difference between ink or oil on the chakras at the bottom of the feet. When you do the Merkaba, these are what activate. You have a lot of current running up and down through your feet and the balls of your feet. You are directly imbuing a frequency pattern that will give you the codes to enable you to go through gates when the time comes. Bivika code as a manifestation code, built on the Vesica Pisces. The Bivika can be used for manifestation, to embed things in the DNA, then turn it into the activating code. In the center of this code, there is the circle with a dot, which is the already fulfilled vesica. This is actually what they call the transharmonic conversion point, that area that looks like an eyeball in the center, plus a stura code. It has also been called the Eye of Elohi, because that's the place that literally connects you to that middle time zone, out of the three, that middle Earth time zone that leads all the way up to the Shield of Arimatina in density 4. Which is the home of the Elohi. In working with this code, you use the concept that the creation and ending point, and everything in between is always in the now, existing as vibration energy fields. Thought is a manifestation template. We use the power of thought to make shifts in our bodies, in our angular rotation of particle spin. The process is one of using symbols, scalar wave patterns of light and sound, mathematically organized, geometrically organized to directly put desired thought forms into the right places in your DNA template so they can start their manifestation process, and you can start to see them in your hologram. It takes about 3 days for the processes in the body, multi-levels of the self, to start projecting out because of the distortions in the grids. When they run properly, we will manifest instantaneously. Part of manifestation involves responsibility for your thoughts, of learning to observe your thoughts. When you start to become mindful, becoming aware of what's going on in your mind, it helps to take it with amusement. Let them be and move through you. Thoughts come through from other incarnational thoughts, so be mindful. You can learn to discreate what you create. We used to transmute bodies with frequency when someone died, all controlled by the most powerful source force in the universe, thought. Thought is the director of frequency. Everything is formed of frequency. This form of the Bhaivika can be used as a control code for implanting things in past, present, and future. Take a symbol for what you want to manifest and its anti-symbol and put them together. One in the past and one in the future. Then use the mind and bring both together, where circles become one. One moves up in frequency. One moves down in frequency. This helps to demanifest the original pattern, which is a lack of something, the lower frequency pattern, which already exists somewhere. Place it with a pattern symbolizing the event of where you already have it, and bring past, present, and future together in center point, mathematically embedding into all levels simultaneously the thoughts you're trying to create in your hologram. The dot means it's loaded. You can pull it forward and read it, lots of symbol codes wrapped up tightly within it. Pull your Maharic shield up, and then scan the code. Kuvika. The Kuvika is a Kundera sound field code, the first level, or triadic level of the primal sound field. It is called the Sharda Za, and its tone is Ku Sharda Za. It was one of the first codes to have ability to override Jehovian seals in physical and planetary body. D12 frequency alone won't override the J seals, so it was necessary to bring in not only the D12, but also the D13 to D15 frequencies of the primal sound fields. You can clear miasmic blockages caused by release of Jehovian seals, J seals, with the Kuvika code and salutation. The Jehovian seals will progressively release over time, all the way until 2012. The Kuvika will progressively clear the Jehovian seals and their effects. The Kuvika was not usable until there was level 1 activation of the 4 faces of man interface network in the planetary grids and the body. The Kuvika gave us the potential to build frequencies in the shields and to progressively activate the other levels of the 4 faces of man. The Kuvika will amplify all of the other things that we've been working with, as far as protection, expediting DNA activation, balancing DNA activation, in addition to breaking up Jehovian implants in the planetary grids and our bodies. Jehovian seals placement of Kuvika. There are 4 main stations for using the Kuvika. 1. Chakra 8 thyroid. 2. Chakra 2 tailbone D12 axis. 3. Heart chakra 4th chakra. 4. Pineal via chakra 6. Thyroid. Sit or lay down. Put a drawing of the Kuvika on the 8th chakra face up. Activate your Maharic shield to bring up pale silver Maharic frequency from your Maharic shield 12-inch below the feet. Bring it up to the chakra, hold it a moment, and then exhale it out through the chakra. Then inhale, imagining pale silver coming up, and breathe out the front and back, up through the head at an angle and comes out the back of the head. Exhaling a line of light, breathing the silver light with the symbol on it, out through the front and back of the chakra. Try to breathe at least 2 minutes per code to start. Next, imagine the code riding on pale silver light. Imagine code coming from thyroid and bring it down to the tailbone and exhale it out through the chakra. This is connected to second sacral and base chakras, which will be getting the code through the vertical current. So don't have to worry about base chakra. Repeat the steps for the heart chakra, which will clear and encode the astral field. Then take it from the heart up to the forehead, encoding the pineal, and breathing out through the 6th chakra. The last step after clearing the 6th chakra. Pineal, 6th, and 7th chakras intersect. Imagine the code riding on pale silver light. Imagine code coming from forehead with code inside, like silver string attached to code, and pull it from forehead to pineal. Inhale and hold, then pop it up to the 14th chakra. Then inhale the encoded ball and exhale it down to earth core. If you're starting to hurt, you can help clear and code all the chakras with this code. Then take the code and put it on specific areas of hurt with oil and breathe an encoded silver energy ball through it. You can also draw the symbol on your hand and then transmit frequency through it to help other people heal. We use the Kuvika to bring primal sound field into the body to break up the J seals. We move the symbol to an area and breathe in and out, hitting areas with sound from the primal sound fields. When sound frequencies come through, they will progressively break up J seals. The J seals can eat holes through personal energy field. If our Maharic shield isn't strong, they can eat holes through it from the inside out. When placing it on chakra 8, thyroid, we can draw with essence oil, which helps with electrical transmission and helps frequencies to pass through. Holding stones, selenite on jewelry, sugilite, amethyst, while meditating will assist in bringing those frequencies in and assists frequencies of the code to activate in the body. Working with violet and white, D7 and D12 essentially. The Kuvika was the first code given to help break up the J seals. The Devika and Aravika help also, as they bring in even higher sound field frequencies. If you use them and keep them at a stable rate in body, they will counter the effect of J seals in the body. The Bivika code plugs you into the D12, D13 space. Takes you up to density 5 where you make the D12, D13 connection. The Trivika code takes you up to D13 to D14, and from D15 to the beginning of the sound fields. The Kuvika is of the first level of the sound fields and begins to make a bridge to the next level of the sound fields. Use the codes to build very quickly those creation currents all the way down. Anybody can work with the Vikas. We won't be able to fully anchor them in the DNA template, but we can build it in the outer levels of aura and thereby plug into the Trion field primal light field. When we clear the J seals from our template, it also helps clear them out of the planetary grids. Running the frequencies in our bodies will help heal planetary grids, helping to neutralize the J seals in the planetary grids. The high Vika codes programs only allow enough of the primal light and sound fields into the body to clear the J seals progressively. They also activate our own inner connection to the four faces of man grid. The more you use them will ensure progressive plug-in to the primal light and sound fields and progressively clear out and recalibrate levels of J seals in the body. Devika. The Devika helps us to access level 2 of the primal sound fields. It's a code of the polaric level. Placement on the body is at chakra 2, just below the navel. It assists in clearing progressively the J seals that release in the body. It is called the Dhruva Ja, and we activate it by toning. Da. Dru. Ah. Yeah. Aravika. The Aravika helps us to access level 3 of the primal sound field. It's a code of the Akkatic level. Placement on the body is over the tailbone. The sonic signature is Ek Ka, and we tone Ra Ek Ka to activate it. It assists in clearing progressively the J seals that release in the body. Akasha. Akasha is a symbol code, a geomancy, mathematical, geometrical program, which holds and directs the mathematical realities of scalar wave interactions within the planetary shields. A large portion of our scalar templates is built on the Akasha. When we begin to activate those portions of our templates, we can begin running the subharmonics of the Kundare, the key, Ra Sha, and the beginning of the frequencies of the Akasha universe, the one above the inner Eka one. Frequencies run through the inner Eka and down to us in our universe. The Akasha anchors the Ekavika seed atoms via the Akasha Addondria Amoreiae 13th pillar. The Akasha symbol is an Eka code, using optical pineal induction. It goes into the corresponding correct part of the scalar shields and DNA template and starts creating activation. The tone is Uma, Thra, Na. Once the high Vika and Akasha symbol code sequences are embedded and induced into the level 1 Kathra grid, they are then activated in the Kathra grid by toning the corresponding Vika code REA sequence. The primal currents are the Ek, the Ka, and the Sha, thereby the name Akasha. The name is a tonal vibration by which something is defined. Therefore, the names are part of the toning. In flame body activation, we work with the Akasha as a part of the Maharic seal technique. The first stage of reclaiming the flame body is to work with a higher frequency Maharic seal. The Amoreiae flame bodies take on the shape of the Akasha. Hush, the center part in the Akasha. The Ryush holds the intrinsic coding for the formation of light and sound. It works like a combination lock sometimes. Turn it like a combination lock, and it will show you pictures and things. The Ryush can be used as a vehicle to visit the halls of Amenti, where 590 large leather-bound books with all of our written historical records are kept. You can ask for guidance to the most pertinent information for you at this present time and read the book with your life mission divine blueprint records in it. You can play with these codes, and you can't hurt yourself with them. There's protection built into the code. You need to run a minimum of D12 frequency subharmonics, and it will clear anything it did that wasn't supposed to be done, or the code just won't work. If you reverse the codes, like the Ryush in the Akasha, it won't work and it won't hurt you. If your body's not ready to deal with the frequency, the code just won't work. As long as you're running the D12 subharmonics in your body will be very self-regulating. It won't allow activations to go too quickly or out of sequence, so you don't hurt yourself. All density and dimensional shields carry the same Christ code core Ryush template. The 12 Ryush pillars are also known as the Eternal Life Christ Cross. Use Akasha currents, the highest level of them, to help reset and hold in place the natural form of lowest ones and move it up, progressively clearing the radial bodies, eventually clearing out and getting rid of the victim-victimizer thing, eventually getting our shadow back. Low Vika codes of Manu. Low Vikas codes of Manu. Ayahaya, Leheya, Riyasha, and Shaya. They control radial body Vika density locks on dimensions 1 to 12 Vika matter bodies. The Ayahaya, Leheya, Riyasha, and Shaya work with Manu field, the Riyan field around them. Toning rapidly, use 12 rounds of the magic words of creation while gazing at code regularly 10 to 15 seconds. Then bring it into cross-eyed double focus. There is a minimum of 12 ways to focus. Just find the one that's comfortable. The Metatronic lenses, Beast, were activated because we were doing so well. Grids were at a higher frequency level than they expected. The Beast wasn't supposed to be activated until 2011. March 23, 2002, it was activated. The Emerald Eyes were put in to counteract the fallen angelic ones. The Emerald Eyes work automatically when the Metatronic lenses activate. It therefore becomes a frequency fight between two opposing forces and creates stress on the grids. The low Vikas, God-world mathematical programs, slow down the effects of the Emerald Eyes so that we don't go into pole shift. Ayahaya. The Ayahaya, when seated, goes directly into the Emerald Eyes and begins the balancing phase on the Emerald Eyes and also helps to clear the Delphi crystal, so it isn't used to amplify the Metatronic crystal. It helps to balance the rhythms out. It stabilizes the process and doesn't blast it. The Emerald Eyes were going to activate anyway, but with the Ayahaya coding, the process would be more harmonious. If there weren't any indigos or angelics on the planet, it wouldn't matter if we went into pole shift. The energies would come in, blast through, the planet would rebalance, and that would be that. However, we are here, and by working with the codes, we can slow down the effects of the Emerald Eyes. We can run enough frequency to counterbalance, and we can stretch out the effects of the Emerald Eyes so it balances in the grids instead of whipping through and clearing stuff. We could have a Christos realignment mission really fast, but no one would be left here to appreciate it. Use of the Ayahaya begins the opening of the D1 Chi to D13 Ke Manu doorway, beginning activation of the Akasha force rays within the D1 Cave of Creation point, the first of the first 8 cells in tailbone and the neutron windows within the atomic structure. It also progressively activates the Manu rays within the density 1 body and brings the Manu phase of the Akasha 12-point Merkaba vehicle into temporary activation. Leheya, a God-world mathematical program used to help slow down effects of the Emerald Eyes to forestall pole shift. The Leheya allows us to work with the Manu field and controls radial body Vika density locks on dimensions 1 to 12 Vika matter bodies. Leheya and URMNU. To be used prior to building pillars of sound when working with the second set of 3 Suryas. Optical pineal induction with individual codes, then Manu-san 12 times. Use magic sons, Akasha-san sequence. Repeat sound tones while doing symbol code pineal induction. Slightly cross eyes. You almost get 2 images. Get into a fuzzy space where you blend currents coming out the eyes. You're braiding them together, accessing directly into the pineal. When you play with focus, you're beginning to braid current that are being held apart separately in polarization. There are 12 levels of focus. There's a technical skill involved in learning to find the 12 points of focus. The 12 points of focus show different frequency spectrums. Do the toning when you find the fuzzy focus, the 2 images that seem to form the Vesica Pisces. When you're braiding those currents and bringing those frequencies together, you can more fully bring the mathematics in their whole form. Otherwise, you're only bringing a piece of it through each eye. When you blur focus, you bring it together into one beam of consciousness, and it is therefore more powerful. Riyasha. Vika 8, the Riyasha, is a God-world mathematical program that works with the Manu field. It controls radial body Vika density locks on dimensions 1 to 12 Vika matter bodies. With Vika 11, Thunimanu, it becomes part of the monadic code and used in the monadic override sequence. Shaya. The Shaya Vika 9 is a God-world mathematical program that works with the Manu field. It controls radial body Vika density locks on dimensions 1 to 12 matter bodies. It was first used in the master stand in Paxos, May 2003. Mid-Vika codes of Imanu. These codes, the UR Imanu, Thun Imanu, and Or Imanu, control radial body Eka density locks. They are also called the blood codes because they have to do with affecting the crystallization of the templates that manufacture the blood. There are actual chemical changes that take place within the blood in order for the body to undergo the whole celestalin wave thing. The particle-antiparticle, fission fusion, where we get to roll up into light and pop up somewhere else. These are main activator codes that activate sequences of other ones. URMNU. This code, VICA10, is one of the blood codes, as it affects the crystallization of the templates that manufacture the blood. It controls radial body ecodensity locks. It's also a main activator code that activates sequences of other ones. THUNMNU. Part 3b of the Cosmic 1212 initiation. It's an elemental fluids template restructuring code. It's a blood crystallization code and a cellular repair code. It clears the reverse program from any fluids. Use it under your water at home or put it on the body to help clear the fluids in your body. When placed on the body, it doesn't matter whether it faces out or in. Use it under anything that has a fluid base. The 1212 initiation activated both VICA code 11 and parallel VICA 11. The Cosmic 1212 initiation began on November 5 to 17, 2002, as the Scepter 12, ECA 12, VICA 12, and Ryush 12 lock key codes initiated within the Universal VICA shields and were anchored into Earth's Templar as parallel Stargate 12 began its opening cycle. The secrets of the 11s and 12s always referred to the precise sequence of lock key codes that needed to be entered into the cosmic universal galactic planetary shields in order to open the density locks and star gates to the Ekashra God core worlds. Implementation of the Cosmic 1212. 1212 code represented activation of the cosmic checks and balances, by which the cosmic clock and cosmic divine blueprint would be reset within the lower shields, via anchoring initiation and activation consummation of the 12 Ryush scepter pillars of the cosmic clock, Ryush God seed core. The Cosmic 1212 activation will allow the universal radial bodies from the Ekashue universes to the universal Vika systems to open, forming the eternal Ekashara Maria flame body support capsule, through which the final Cosmic 1111 activation can take place to reset the cosmic clock. The Cosmic 1111 activation is the Templar lock key code activation sequence that opens the Shield Azae center point locks from the Ekashare to the Universal Vika and its planet stars, enabling the 13th Ryush pillar, the Ekashara Maria cosmic entry of the 1 codes. Ryush 1 Scepter 1 Eka 1 Christ 1. Ryusha and Thunimanu, Vika 8 and 11. Called the monadic override sequence. This monadic override sequence is often referred to as the Universal 1111 activation. Vika 11 parallel 11 equals Vika 12 initiation. It utilized initiation of the Vika code 8 Vika code 11 sequence, which triggers expedited initiation of Vika code 12 via using the monadic override sequence, which used code Vika 8 to run the gold wave infusion, allowing Vika 11 and its parallel Vika 11 to merge for triggering of Vika 12 initiation. It prevented destruction of Stargate 12 as the golden sensor went through, along with mitigating effects of the planetary blue fire sword initiation. It facilitated the gold wave monadic infusion. It expedited initiation and activation of Vika code 12, the elemental solids template restructuring code, or IMNU. When using 1212 induction and Rishiak shield activation and preceding Tech 17, the Thunimanu Vika code 1111 parallel induction. Together, techniques 16 and 17 of the Flame Body Activation series trigger expedited natural initiation and activation of Vika 12 to complete Part 3 of Cosmic 1212. 1212 initiation. Orimanu. Vika 12 is the elemental solids regenesis code. It should be used on all solids to reset the reverse spin. It controls radial body ecodensity locks and also affects the crystallization of the templates that manufacture the blood. It is part of the 1212 code which initiated the Cosmic 1212 initiation on November 5 to 17, 2002, Scepter 12, Eka 12, Vika 12, and Ryush 12 were the lock key codes initiated within the Universal Vika shields and were anchored into Earth's Templar as parallel Stargate 12 began its opening cycle. Activating Manu Vika codes begins freeing us from the reversals. They are activated by the Surya tones sound tones. If you've used the high Vikas and they're already active in your system, you can start to feel and experience results rather quickly when using the Manu codes. The Manu consciousness doesn't think like we do. It doesn't believe, just knows. Manu holds the common knowing. Air and Mana each has a piece, but not the whole. Working with the void Manu codes will start to bring back the pieces into a whole, into a natural state of harmonization. Scepter 12, El Hayalii. The El Hayalii scepter code is the Ekashue spectra code and activates all scepters below it. Activating scepter code 12 and calling on any one of the 11 scepter codes will reveal the secrets of the codes to us. This process sets in motion the opening of a set of 12 personal lessons as we start to become our own teachers. Continued exploration of these codes reveals the eternal flame secrets of the eucatharistic eternal flame body. Ryanayana Eka 12 code activates all 12 Eka codes, Akasha corridor codes. This code, along with Scepter 12, was used to initiate parts 1 and 2, Cosmic 1212 lock key code sequence into personal shields and initiate level 5 Vika Amoreye flame body activation, Akasha Amoreye flame body activation, and activated density 5 Rishiak shield. It prepares the body, mind, spirit, and personal shield and DNA template to receive the Cosmic 1212 flame body activation the Earth entered upon December 21, 2002. It releases the outer lock seals on the Ekashara, Akasha, and Eka, and Universal Vika radial bodies to activate the Cosmic Ekashara, Ekashare, Akasha, Eka, and Vika Amoreye flame bodies in preparation for anchoring and initiating the Cosmic 11-13th Pillar Christ Code 1 activation during the Hetero peak of May 27, 2003. One must anchor the 13th Pillar Ekashara, Amoreye Arrow's Arc, the Ark of the Covenant, during the H0 in order to catch the wave of ascent into the bridge zone time continuum to reset the cosmic clock and divine blueprint in the personal shield through anchoring the inner 12 Ryush pillars. Activation of the inner 12 Ryush scepter pillars neutralizes Metatronic implants and prevents D13 reverse blue fire sword currents from causing monadic reversal of the shield, enabling one to avert Wiesdak black hole fall between 2012 to 2017. Vika Mahadra Christ 1 code. The Christ 1 code opens the Azae center seal of the Cosmic Christ shield and the Eucharistamaria flame body, allowing release of the Eucharistamaria cosmic Christ flame. The Christ 1 code holds within it the mathematical programs of all of the 1 codes below it, and thus the 1111 lock key code sequence is entered into the shields via the single Christ 1 code. The Cosmic 1111 is actually the entry of the 1 codes. Ryush 1 Scepter, 1 Eka, 1 Christ 1. You can consolidate Vika code induction with the Vika Mahadra 1212 Christ code to initiate Eka Vika body subharmonic activation. The Christ 1 was part 4 of Cosmic 1212. It was used to complete initiation of Cosmic 1212 lock key code sequence into personal shields to enable shields, DNA template, and body to automatically receive Cosmic 1212 Akasha Amoreye flame body activation as it activated within the universe galactic planetary shields on December 21, 2002. It helped prepare the shields for receiving the Christ 1 code Cosmic 11-13th Pillar initiation to catch the wave of ascent to the bridge zone continuum during the May 27, 2003 Universal Galactic Planetary Hetero. It was also used during Hetero to anchor the recreation of the halls of a Menti-Arc interface system. The long-anticipated event of entering the Cosmic Christ 1 code and the 1111 lock key code sequence into the Stairway to Heaven levels for resetting of the cosmic clock and the divine cosmic blueprint has been referred to as the second coming of Christ, or Christ, the first being the original creation point. The cosmic Templar opening procedure has become cloaked within the 1111 symbology, which has been known as the Christ code, and in our universal Vikas as the code of the second coming of Christ. All of this symbology has always referred to the eternal procedures for resetting the cosmic clock for restoration of the cosmic divine blueprint within all manifest worlds. The 1111 lock key code sequence became cloaked within the 1111 symbology. The Cosmic 11-13th Pillar activation begins the reset on the cosmic clock. The 12 Ryush scepter pillars of the cosmic clock ride on the carrier wave of the 13th pillar. Before the 13th pillar Ekashara flame could anchor within the lower shields, the universal radial body density locks for the Ekashara, Eka and Vika universes had to be released to allow the 13th pillar to pass from one God world level to the next level below. The cosmic 1212 lock key code sequence, Scepter 12, Eka 12, Vika 12, Ryush 12, must first activate the outer cosmic universal radial bodies into their flame body, which then opens the central shield as a point to open to receive the cosmic 1111 13th pillar lock key code sequence. The opening procedures for resetting the cosmic clock are the running of the cosmic 1212, 1111 Templar code sequence. The third part of the cosmic 1212 was expedited into initiation through initiation of the Universal Monadic Override sequence, which utilized initiation of the Vika code 8, Vika code 11 sequence, which triggers expedited initiation of Vika code 12 via using the monadic code Vika 8 to run the gold wave infusion, allowing Vika 11 and its parallel Vika 11 to merge for triggering of Vika 12 initiation. The 1212 activations released main lock seals. Main lock seals have to be released all the way down to allow the 13th pillar, and subsequent Ryush pillars to come down into the Vika system. The 1212, Vika's 8 and 11 universal override system gives Vika 12 activation early. Once the locks open, they initiate in shields, then a cycle of time passes until they fully activate, which is when radial bodies turn into flame bodies. And flame bodies you can pass through because they no longer polarize. Once anchored in the Eka base shield, the 24 Ryush pillars interact and bend toward each other through the mathematical program of the Christ code, stepping down to form two sets of 12 Ekavika body primary lotus arc sets. Mahadra Adrana. This master key code specifically opens the two double density lock seals, above head and below feet. It holds all the Vika codes within it. It was used in Phoenix 2003. To anchor and activate the universal Christiac vision seed through the opening of the 24 blood crystal seeds. Within us, the indigo shield, planetary, galactic, and universal grids. Magic words of co-creation, Manu San, and language. The Manu San is one of the sacred Surya songs. There are body movements and sound tones that go with these songs. They work in manifestation because they use combinations of the natural sound tones that go with the natural vibrational primal, three currents, Manu, Mana, and Ere. This is a process of circulation of primal force currents, using sound strings, built upon the sound of Akasha and three currents, Ere, Manu, Mana. Using them in right sequence will start to bring back mathematical coding of the natural sequence of the Manu body. When your selves hear these sound tones, they begin to wake up the parts of the Manu, begin to reassemble that which was broken down before, and dissemble blockages that don't belong there. The sound tones are the key. Use them as commands, as statements. It's a vibration, a waveform. If you can't feel it in your body, you're not putting enough energy into it. You need to sing and speak in a way that all the parts of yourself can hear you. It's a command. It's a waveform. It's not always how loud the sound is, but how resonant it is. How much it is moving through the cells. Akasha. Hailing the Akasha, the God force. Would you co-create with me? The request. I'm requesting the presence of the God force. Let's co-create together. Here you're putting out a frequency to get the attention of the Manu, the Ere, and Mana, the parts of the consciousness of God, to get the attention of the consciousness fields, to get the attention of the parts of you that are stationed in the Manu, Ere, and Mana. When these sound frequencies emanate outward, there's a direct response. The in-breath, the intention embedding breath. This is what takes a piece of the hologram, through me, through the template, through transduction sequence, back through the planet, and back to source. And when you exhale, you're bringing energy back out into the hologram. This is your manifestation and demanifestation current. What you are holding in your head and in your emotional body at time you think a thought. When you inhale, wherever your shadow, your emotional body, mental body, and physical body is stationed at the time you think a thought, that imprint gets sent back with the inhale breath into the Manu fields. Whatever level is closest to where you are. If you're blocked and can't go past 3D, it will go into the Manu fields surrounding 3D. The Manu fields have one job, to uphold the original intention, to create in the image of God itself, which is the gift of free will creation. So whatever you decide to put in it, you've planted it, it's a consciousness, and agrees to take whatever pattern you send to it and turn it into vibration and set the mechanics in motion to manifest. The part of you that is the Manu is the part that makes it happen. Then the mana current on the exhale starts to bring it out into manifestation. In the days when there weren't DNA problems, you could hold an intention and image of what you wanted to happen, then just run the currents and use the suryas, talk to yourself in your head telepathically, and exhale a breath, and it would happen. It would go out and have the same power in its own way of creation. If you wanted something to move, you would just imagine it, and it would move. In every breath we take, we are using this power. We are not taught about the power of our breath. You can use your breath to jump time a little more quickly, especially once the body is cleared of the distortions. We work with the sound and the symbol codes, and what the sound can't do, the symbols will, and vice versa. Hold in mind the image of what you want to manifest, then sing the directive, and then the intention embedding, RA. You have made a statement. You know you are creating now. A gesture of eloquence. It commands power. You know you are talking to God. You know you are co-creating with God. That you and God are one. And that what you are intending to manifest is God intending to manifest right now. You are speaking it, lovingly commanding creation. Request moves up and down. The others are much more of a tight line of energy, as opposed to a wave of energy moving up and down. It's a finely balanced set of currents. Pause, Manu, where intention is created. Taken in breath, and with it, speak out a line, then pause, and what you're doing in the pause is where you give it time, where you're allowing energy transfer to fully transfer, to download from the computer, trying to take it from the decision point, and now you're sending it to the printer to take. It is intention manifestation. Out-breath mana. Exhale and make your sound, and manifestation comes out into the hologram. Sound is very powerful. Most of the evil avatars were very well spoken. They could trigger activations just by the way they carried the voice, by the lilt in the voice. They could trigger reversal activations. They could use language as a surface carrier, but underneath they modulate the voice and using tones that trigger things that could affect the chemicals in the body, on your DNA. And if you're not aware, and do not have enough frequency in your fields of your natural life force current, you could be affected. But if you have enough of your own D12, or at least the subharmonics, you won't be affected. We're very susceptible to tone. Our bodies are built on the void, the sound, and the light, so sound and light and frequencies of the void can all be used to interface with us for positive or negative purposes. Using tones for positive purposes creates immunity. We can also help others by speaking these tones. They will undo the negative ones. We're getting our sound back, and eventually we'll get the light back that goes with it. And then we'll have our power back, taking pieces of the 15 primary rays. Some are being combined correctly, some aren't. There's reversed matrix language plugged in. Some of the alphabets we're taught are made of reversed symbols and reversed tones, and words made of these and then spoken keep reversals set in our atoms by the action of talking. Languages are mixed. Primary letters that would release the primary currents were taken out, and others put in that cause a skip code reversal. It all started with the Tower of Babel. Part of the challenge is bringing back the old languages that don't have the reversals. In terms of our personal own development for contact, the array work is more associated with sound. If we need more array force, then we should develop our inner hearing by utilizing sound and tones. Mana force is more keyed to visual stimulus. If we need more mana force, then we should work with the Vika codes and develop our inner sight. Induction and embedding. Direct induction. Induction and embedding of the high Vika codes into the 15-dimensional anatomy involves placing the individual symbol codes over the regions of the physical body that correspond to specific areas of the underlying Cathra grid. The body placement of each code also corresponds directly to its location in the energy shields of the body. Once the symbol is in place, the breath is used to direct D12 Maharata current through each symbol code and into the body. Use of the Maharata current carrier wave, via activation of the Maharic seal shield, is required to induce the code's mathematical program or signature into the body's Cathra grid, where the program will then naturally transfer into the corresponding areas of the level. 1 Cathra 12 tree grid core template. Optical pineal induction. Body placement induction of the high Vika codes is amplified by the use of optical pineal induction. In this process, the eyes are focused for a time upon the image of the symbol code, and using the breath, you bring the mathematical Vika code program into the pineal gland through the optical currents and 6th chakra. The mathematical program of the Vika code being induced then travels through the central vertical current and into the body region to which the code corresponds. Here it is embedded and induced into the corresponding location of the Cathra grid. The mathematical program goes into the template and literally turns on a program in the shield. This begins to turn on the consciousness in accordance with the program. In the beginning stages of working with optical pineal induction, it is recommended to use either a relaxed or active cross-eyed focus, whichever feels most comfortable. This sends a double, overlapping image of the symbol code into the pineal gland and facilitates the realignment of distortions in the optical region at the center of the brain. See CCR Phoenix 2003 and SYCA. Workshops for further information on the Adrana triangulation. The process of personal induction and subsequent embedding is a profound process of healing and multidimensional consciousness identity expansion. The process invokes essential Merkaba correction and directly assists in meaningful activation of the higher-level Merkabas. Embedding and activation of the Vika codes via optical pineal induction is not as powerful as the direct body placement technique, since the mathematical current of the Vika code loses charge and strength when traveling from the pineal gland into the central vertical current. The optical pineal induction is therefore used for daily amplification of the Vika code frequencies, while the direct body placement technique is used once a week. When placing Vika codes on the body, they should be placed in the appropriate place with the code facing out and the blank side of the paper touching the body. If you use Vika codes upside down, they won't work. You can put tattoos over place on body, activate your Maharic shield, and then just tone the tones while you're doing something else. You can create a continual level of activation this way. Or if you do the flame activation techniques that go with Tech 8, that will work also to keep a continual level of activation. Use with sound tone equivalents after induction to re-stimulate it, to recalibrate your emotional bodies. Place codes over areas, activate your Maharic shield, breathe D12 through each symbol, lower to higher sequence. Then begin toning the corresponding tones, sing them as a song. When working individually, repeat at least 3 times to let vibration comes in. When singing it as a whole song, sing the whole song 3 times, singing each code song once in each sequence. It not only brings in power, but also brings in the presence of your God self. And when you speak it, you are giving it a D5-dimensional twist that actually hits your 5th strand template. So by reading it, you get it on D3, but when it's verbal, it's being transmitted through the 5th chakra. It's carrying D5 subharmonics. So you can get an extra push behind the sound tones. It can give you a head start on sequencing things. Moving through the 5 high Vika codes, spend 3 to 4 minutes gazing, focusing with the cross-eyed approach for each card, and using the tones with them. The basic way to do the Vika code song for the first time. Use the given form, then move to variants on a personal level with your interaction with what is not inanimate something, but something that is alive animate consciousness. A representation of a being, the codes are alive. And when you hold them in your hand and you perform this tune in your private space and you begin to feel that being feeling you, then you know you're working with the Vikas. To help you do this, the beloveds suggested we use half-octave increments, so you go from a relatively low level and then up. Activating with sound. Vika codes are very specific symbol codes, each possessing corresponding sound tones or areas. When we begin to use the ancient sound tones, the whole tones, the tones of the words themselves, the vibrational patterns, we call more and more of that living life force into our embodiment. And with this comes more of our at-one-ment. The ancient sound tones are their real names. Using them brings more of the at-one-ment into our fields. Practice each set of Vika tones by themselves while fixating on the code. Take one at a time and simply stare at it. And while you are, pronounce the tone. After you stare for a while, they start shifting focus. There is a place where you get your focus, where you can see the realities of energy behind the hologram. Take the symbol code and go sit in a dimly lit space. And just focus on it. Let the image talk to you and talk back to it with the tones. This begins the process of inducing into the pineal the mathematical program. Start once per day. It's important to run them while we're vertical, because the Kundalini does something differently than when we're reclining. When you're inducing it, you'll have more energy available if you pay attention to your posture. The idea is to be able to hold frequency while conscious in the body. Reclining will cause us to more easily fall asleep. Start with 3 to 5 minutes per code using the tone. The longer the toning is sustained, the greater will be the quantity of Vika code activation. When you can draw the code without looking at the picture, That's when you know you have it fully induced, or remember all the components. When we tone the ancient sound tones, the whole tones, the tones of the words themselves, the vibrational patterns, we call more and more of that living life force into our embodiment, and with this comes more of our at-one-ment. All languages came out of the original patterns of the divine blueprint and consciousness currents, and sound tones are the vibrations that sound tones made, such as manna came from manna. When used with the temporary Maharic seal, toning of the Vika code names, auditory translation of their core mathematical vibration. Mu ava, ha sha, Chardaisier, Drew, a, ja and ek ka, activates corresponding mathematical codes in the DNA template, expediting embodiment of the personal D12 prematter divine blueprint and corresponding levels of personal expanded consciousness. Use of the Vika codes expands personal consciousness while activating personal Christos Trion-Mej field primal life force fields. We can create our own personal Trion-Mej fields, our own way of linking into universal Trion-Mej fields. This is the way we get into right probability when two polarity fields separate. If you work with these codes, you'll be able to link. You'll have your sound pillar that will anchor you into the right time vector instead of getting sucked into black hole matrix. Using the tones will allow us to sing our way through stargates. Putting the codes in visually and holding that pattern on the body will help the templates to activate faster, but it's hard to remember them. In the old day, you would have to know how to draw one code before you went on to the next. The symbols are not just symbols, but are mathematical patterns that go with specific scalar waves in your shields. Everything is composed of the units of the consciousness of God, which means the scalar shields that are a part of you that is a part of God are alive. They're not just inanimate things that you can keep track of with numbers and symbols. This means the Vika codes themselves are beings that hold knowledge and identity. The Vika codes give natural mathematical sequencing of running primal light and sound fields current into the body and biofields in a way that is natural for the body to process it. We each have a part of our own being that manifests as these types of light and sound forms. They're in our shields with us. We use them to activate the shields, the mathematical templates which tell consciousness and the primal life source currents our bodies are made from which way to bend light and move sound in order to create the three-dimensional hologram. Shields directly connect to Merkaba and are the control mechanisms for Merkaba, and Merkaba is a natural biological machine that circulates the primal currents and primal consciousness through our fields. They can teach us things. We can meditate with an Akasha, do the optical pineal induction for a little bit, then just start having a telepathic conversation with it. Before too long, it might start talking back. It will communicate with you. Each code has a different personality. They're different identities. When we use a picture of a code, we're actually bringing the energy signature of that being up. They become actual energy links directly into your system. Everything out here is a holographic projection. Consciousness projects. We see the hologram because of what is held within our DNA. When working with symbols, programs affect certain parts of our DNA that affect our perception. The Eka and Vika codes go into the core of the shields, creating large levels of activation. Consciousness and the shields are connected. The shield anchors consciousness. We need Vika codes to be able to block psychotronic transmissions, which are scalar pulses with disharmonic waveforms. They can be used for master grid mechanics, and will build more quickly protection fields in our biofields. They build sound fields as a buffer in our fields, the only way to clear the progressive layers of Jehovian seals. In addition, symbol codes activate the locks. Sans and the Anahazi language activate the nodes. Using both activates all. Thought process and the transduction sequence. Vika codes help clear miasms in the DNA. With DNA distortions, you also have consciousness distortions. Whatever we have in our mind is picked up as a template. It's bounced back up, but eventually if you keep energizing a particular thought or pattern of crystalline kalins, you will give it enough energy where it will manifest itself outside of yourself where you will see it. These would be the thought forms that are made from thought frequency where you would put the intention in and send it back to the Manu so that you could manifest it in your hologram. Currently, due to the distortions, you would only manifest part of it. The 12 attitudes of mastery are very important. Our thought patterns embed in the DNA template and create chemical realities in our bodies that will either help us through a stargate or stop us from going through. The contents of our consciousness manifest in chemical terms within the DNA and the body. That body's chemicals will determine whether it can actually ascend or not. The transduction sequence is a manifestation process by which thought becomes physical stuff. If there are distortions in the grid, it begins to form miasms in the body. Miasms are antiparticle buildup in the particle field. This buildup throws off the natural electromagnetic charges in the body. Miasms form in the cathode grid and all the way up. If there are distortions in mathematics here, it begins to form a miasm, which is a distorted pattern of energy that blocks the flow, rather than allows the flow of primal life force currents, also called our karmic pattern. Karma is a buildup of miasmic residue from other lifetimes. Our DNA is linked not only to our parallel self right now, right here, but it is linked to our 1727 other selves, which means they're in their space-time frames. If they're in a personal or planetary drama that they're starting to have distortions in their DNA template, in any of their electromagnetic fields, those things get recorded in their DNA. When your DNA hits a certain activation level, it has a co-resonant vibration, which means the information that's in their DNA template starts to come up to yours and you send some back to theirs. Karma isn't something that you are born with in the way that you picked it up last time you died and took it here. It's literally an immediate connection, just like our connection to God. It isn't something that happened once upon a time when we were created. It's here every moment. The karmic imprint comes through every moment. The more we work with Vika codes, the more we are able to clear the stuff we already have and to catch the new stuff as it comes up and to put it right back into its correct mathematical sequence. All our radial bodies are carrying distortions. As we work with the mathematics contained in the Vika codes, they are restoring original mathematical imprints. Miasms are twists of energy that have reverse mathematics compared to what they should have, and they block energy and create separation and polarization instead of allowing energy to flow harmoniously. Miasms are in our scalar template, our shields like burned-out light bulbs. Vika codes help clear miasms in the DNA and will help in radial body clearing. They will begin to clear distortions on the radial body level and start to restore the original memory matrix. They are the fastest way to work with the memory matrix and get faster control over thought manifestation. Miasms are antiparticle buildups in the particle field created by reversals in the scalar template. They will change what you're trying to manifest. If you have a DNA template with distortions and Merkaba with distortions, they're coming because there are distortions in the planetary and subsequently in the personal Cathra grid. And if it's in the Cathra grid, it manifests itself all the way up through every sequence. This is why we've lost control of our manifestation process and don't realize we're manufacturing our hologram as we go along. Our personal Templar and Templar are microcosmic reflections of each other. Our radial body is really our memory matrix. Distortions in our radial body messes with our memory matrix. The magnetosphere is our planetary radial body. Therefore, there are also distortions in the planetary memory matrix. Everything out here is a holographic projection. Consciousness projects. We see the hologram because of what is held within our DNA. When working with symbols, programs affect certain parts of our DNA that affect our perception. The Eka and Vika codes go into the core of the shields, creating large levels of activation. Consciousness and the shields are connected, for shields anchor consciousness. The symbols are not just symbols, but mathematical patterns that go with specific scalar waves in your shields. They build more quickly a protective sound field as a buffer in our biofields. The symbols give the natural mathematical sequencing of running primal light and sound fields current into the body and biofields in a way that is natural for the body to process it. We need to activate our shields. The shields are mathematical templates that tell consciousness, and the primal life source currents our bodies are made from which way to bend light and move sound in order to create the three-dimensional hologram. Shields also directly connect to our Merkaba and are the control mechanisms for Merkaba. And Merkaba is a natural biological machine that circulates the primal currents and primal consciousness through our fields. Inducing Vika codes within the body is quite simple. Using stamps puts the mathematics right into the energy system of your body, and then when you run energy in a certain way you amplify that, and you bring it directly and very quickly into your template. The sons we've been using are the activation tones for Vika codes within the body. When we use Vika codes or Eka codes, we are literally putting the mathematical program back into the radial body. That's the fastest way to get it into the Cathra grid to clear the core template, and it's also helping the planet as well. It's activating DNA. As it goes along, it's clearing DNA because DNA is part of this transduction sequence. It's quite an early part. So if we put the code in here, it gets sent out very quickly through the DNA, very quickly into the hologram. Then comes back around again and goes back out and clears the stuff behind it. So, it's the most rapid way to create change as well. Once these codes are imbued in your body, it means it has activated the potentialities that you can rapidly make the shift and angular rotation of particle spin. The Vika code technologies help us clear the radial body distortions and regain the ability to undergo radial body merger at will. This then allows us to activate the multiple levels of our natural Merkaba vehicle, facilitating activation of the flame body in preparation for biological ascension. Each time we work with the Vika code technologies, we release more and more levels of the radial body locks, which hold the levels of the radial body separate from each other. Once activated, the Vika code programs travel upward through the stages of the transduction manifestation sequence from the Cathra grid to the shields into the Kalan crystal body morphogenetic field, then into the Merkaba field, DNA template, and Hova body/radial body levels, temporarily restoring the Christiac Merkaba field, radial body, and memory matrix divine blueprint. Frequent and continued use of the Vika codes will progressively build critical mass of the divine blueprint program simultaneously within all levels of the 15-dimensional anatomy, eventually culminating in expedited full restoration of the D12 Maharic shield blueprint within the body-mind-spirit system, via the radial body Trianmij field. As the radial bodies fold up together, we turn back into light. The Ayani suggests that if we want to take our body with us after death, that if we want to physically go to the inner Eka inner Earth, then we need to work with the Vika codes to get the evolutionary acceleration that they provide. Vika codes are specialized geomancies that are radial body codes, codes that hold programs for radial body, control opening and closing of radial body capsules. There is a certain sequence to them. Vika codes give us the potential to progressively restore the natural radial bodies, the natural sound tones, and light frequencies of the primal currents and primal forces as they run through us, and our hologram will progressively clean itself up. The Vika codes allow us to activate in the body the currents of consciousness that will allow us to develop a relationship with birds, plants, animals, and beings from other places. They allow us to develop a relationship with beings of other space-time periods. You can telepath with them to learn information needed to develop. It's not the words, it's the vibration underneath them. That's what birds understand. The Ayani speak in direct cognition, as do animals and plants. Song of Lyra. The Song of Lyra is a decree to bring Christos' presence in and anchor it. You're making a statement, a command. If you feel you need more of your true self anchored in this manifest reality and need reinforcement, you can use this. It's encoded in the song. You're invoking I am, saying I am my avatar, rallying all your 1728 selves, sending a frequency out to other time vectors and mobilizing the energy of all of you, linking with and being as your total self. To do a healing, or even if you're on a plane with a terrorist, you start singing the Song of Lyra to yourself while holding an intention that peace be restored and the highest Christos be restored right now immediately. You push the energy into the pattern you've set. The pattern is the intention. You can affect change and shift the energy with it. There's a state of consciousness, your wholeness you can feel when you're the energy of the song. When you sing this song, it's you and your Christos self saying you're going to be one now. You're calling in your avatar self. The more you sing this, the faster it happens. It brings in frequency, along with a level of protection, stability, and peace. The more you use it, the better you'll get at staying in full alignment. It's the sound tones. They can make the difference on whether the founders can anchor the Christos template. The song will anchor beginning frequencies that will allow Vika codes to work their best. It will amplify the D12 frequencies and get you in full alignment with your Christos self. Sound is the core of frequency behind light manifestation, which is actually refracted sound. Light can deceive, but sound always tells the truth. The sound and the frequency behind it, which is the most powerful, the sound tones, are the power. The Guardian Alliance wants us to sing this song to open meetings, as an opening prayer, etc. It creates a protection field, creates a platform of D12 in the room. Space you're working with blocks people's ability to mess with you. The Song of Lyra activates DNA and planetary grids. It has certain combinations of sound tones that activate very specific parts of the planetary grids and ley lines, meridians, DNA strands, and axiotonal lines in your body. Bring the Song of Lyra into public places. Use your presence as a frequency carrier in public. You can assist those within a 10 to 20 miles radius, if you've had a regent ordination. You sing it to yourself and bring the energy in. You're helping others link into the Trian-Mej field by going into public and offering others' avatar selves assistance, mentally, and then singing the song of Lyra and the Vika codes. Become one with the tones of the song. Sing it with the feeling of evoking divine right order right now. Get a feeling of the energy you should be bringing in, feel that tone, move with it. Try to feel yourself as a face of God, a spark of source, to anchor whatever is divine right order right now. This is the feeling of the energy you need to bring in, and what will give you the ability to stimulate it in others. Once you get that, you can combine it with Vika tones, go out into a public place, and put out a mental note to all the avatars, D12 or higher, of the people and offer the triggering into activation of their Maharic shield. Say you're here to assist, and let them know that the energy you generate will stimulate temporarily into activation the Maharic shield of all the consciousnesses in the area. However, for it to hold, it's up to the Christos avatar of the person. Offer the avatar the opportunity, because due to the conscious personality, the avatar hasn't been able to access the grounding field or anchoring field you've set. It helps the avatar link into Trian-Mej fields. However, only do this if you feel your fields are strong. When you can see yourself glowing with that pillar of light around you and feel it running through you, then go out, sing tones to yourself. On every exhale, breathe, feel them run down your feet, out your Maharic shield, and feel your Maharic shield expand out over many miles, triggering the Maharic shield of everything it touches. See all the discs light up under people's feet. At this point, your service is done. Now it's up to the avatar self whether to hold the activation. You're building a grounding, anchoring field that others can link into. Your disc will spark others' discs into activation. This way, when the shift happens, they won't end up in a black hole matrix. Their avatar will help them hold the Mej field, so they don't end up in black hole matrix. 15-dimensional structure and Cathra grid. The basic 15-dimensional structure is a symbol code, which allows a certain set of frequencies to convey the consciousness reality of what a 15-dimensional structure really is. It helps by using this symbol. A relationship with a symbol code requires basic etiquette. You can't just boss them around. A friend which gave itself specifically to me without any judgment and said you may use this to create anything you choose without any judgment, a field of love, co-creative relationship. We have two Cathra grids on the chart, one that comes from the primal sound field, and one set that comes down 24 points of primary focus that sets the pattern for the dimensional structure. The Cathra grid is the core template mathematical blueprint of everything in the time matrix. The original thought held in the Manu. How the Manu organizes itself and its relationships with itself and energy terms to create a reality field 3D holographic experience in this reality field. The 0 point happens where 12 connects with one of the next one upward, towards the primal fields. There are geomancies in the Cathra centers, which are the consciousnesses that are holding the intention of keeping the manifestation framework in order. Your Cathra centers are beings, part of your consciousness. Energy is consciousness, and consciousness is energy. Therefore, everything is a being. We're talking about being structure as well as thing structure. You must recognize that Ere, Manu, and Mana are forces of consciousness before you can successfully direct them to do much. The paths of the currents would all come through 12, then split. Manu, 12, 9, 6, 3, 1 path of Amoreie. Mana, 12, 11, 8, 5, 2, 1. Ere, 12, 10, 7, 4, 1. Each level they break down, the vibration changes, therefore the name of the current changes. End up with a string of names. To evoke and bring into activation in your body those particular currents of energy, you would choose which ones by their sound, by their vibration, and speak it. And that would allow it to go out in your hologram, bounce back in, and the breath would carry it back into your template where it would manifest in your body. In order to transmute, go through a star gate, and pop up on Terra, you need to change the Chi ray, key into Prana, Mana, and Treya. Once you clear and heal the system where it's capable of doing Merkaba, it's easy to get to where you want to go once you know the sounds. You simply think them to yourself, and the vibration sends you there instantly. The vibration is the thought, the direction. Activating the natural Manu Vika codes will begin freeing us up from the reversals. They are activated by the Surya tones sound tones. If you've been using the high Vika codes and they're already active in your system, by using the Manu codes, you can start to feel and experience results rather quickly. The Manu consciousness doesn't think like we do, doesn't believe, just knows. Manu holds the common knowing. Air and mana each has a piece, but not the whole. When starting to work with the void Manu codes, they will start to bring back the pieces into a whole, into a natural state of harmonization. Vika and Eka code lock keys. The numbers have the names we are becoming familiar with. These correspond with these. Some of them you notice have two numbers, like 2 and 7, 5 and 10. This means that both of those codes control the seal. When we do Ascension, we naturally fold ourselves back up into light. In the Vika map, looking at the Vika quadrants, and we are in Vika quadrant 4. There's a natural process that when we do Ascension, we literally kind of fold ourselves back up into light. The natural systems go from 4, 3, 2, 1. The override system opens these so you can ascend really quickly. You would bring primal light and its field together, and they would be brought together. It's a much faster level of activation. What needs to be done in these universal systems? The Vika's control locks that are between densities. The combination of codes would open the two. If we want to go all the way up to the Eka, we need to open all the Vikas. If we open all of these, activate all of these codes, it opens all the density locks in our Vika system, so we can go into the Eka system. If we were just going to go to density 2, then we would just have to open L1 and use Vikas 4 and 9. Every time we work with the Vika codes, we're putting in the programs that go with the density locks that are in our shields and our radial bodies. So we are releasing the radial body locks so we can pass through the voids and expand very rapidly. The Vika and Eka code lock keys chart is very important because it shows you what we're doing when we're playing with these Vikas. Vikas and Ekas are mathematical coordinates that open these particular locks that will allow for this and this to come together, and this to come together. It will allow this mathematical configuration in your shield to fully activate and come together, so you can literally turn your body into light and get in the gates to go up. It begins to give you the key so you can see which locks are being opened by which specific Vika or Vika combinations. And there would be another level for the Ekas. The Vika codes and Eka codes help release the density lock seals in the radial bodies so all the frequencies can blend together, so you can roll yourself up in a ball of light and sound, and do a Merkaba, and get out of the Vika system and go into the Eka system. The Eka codes will do the same and allow you to go from the Eka to the Akasha level. Each level has that level of codes. The Vika code activations also begin the activation of the void seals. The Vika and Eka codes are the override codes, the fast way. Usually a radial body opens when all the little seals release. This fast way allows the radial bodies to open to each other. It's really the fastest way to ascend. In looking at the chart, draw the lines from the oval to see what lock it connects with. Opens up the two to each other. If you open 7 and 10, it triggers 8 and 9 into opening. The Ayahaya opens D13 center lock 4. Code 1 opens the D12 center lock. Start with a lock and see what oval it connects with, then draw a line right through the oval to the other lock it connects to. It literally opens up the two to each other. We're building the Kruxensasha Akasha Merkaba field. Sacred alphabet of the God language. Signs, seals, and scepters. The signs, seals, and scepters are sacred mathematical programs by and through which the domains within God's cosmic house of many mansions, stairway to heaven, are perpetually created and maintained. These divine mathematics represent the sacred alphabet of the God language expressed visually as encoded master symbols, vocally as master sons, and tactically as master Sayuar movements, suryas. Symbols, sounds, and movements. These are the sacred God languages, literally how creation was formed, the original creation languages. Signs. The Vika code symbols, also called the 12 vehicles of mobility. High Vikas of Emmanuel and the Immanuyanas. These apply to DNA template strands 1.5 to 12.5. Full activation of the Vikas opens the radial body Vika passages between the 14 manifestation fields in the 4 Vika quadrants of the 7 higher and lower heavens, and the 15th manifestation field of the Eka lower inner God world, the entry point, receiving station, to the Master's rooms in the House of Many Mansions. Passage through the Eka inner world gates is required to move from the Vika worlds of the 7 higher or lower heavens into any of the 4 God worlds, Akasha, Ekashue, Ekashura, and Unisai. The Vika codes are also pass keys that allow for specific activation of the personal DNA and Merkaba, by which a mortal being can progressively reclaim the divine heritage of spiritual and biological passage into the manifest domains of eternal life creation. The sacred ascended God worlds of the Eka, Akasha, Ekashare, Ekashara, and the Unisai, where only true ascended spiritual masters can reside. Vika code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 12th subharmonic activation of the 12-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional 12.5 subharmonic Manu phase, 1 Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12.5 gates to the Eka inner lower God world. Vika code activation also allows beings with less than 12 active strands of base 12 DNA to link into the base 12 planetary fields for temporary shift into the Eka with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Vika codes open passage from Vika worlds 7 higher and lower heavens to the Eka inner lower God worlds, the first level of the Eka worlds. Seals. The Eka code symbols, Akasha corridor codes, also called the 12 postures of residency. Eka codes apply to DNA template strands 2 to 24. Full activation of the Ekas opens the radial body Eka passages between the Eka inner lower God world and the 4 Akasha corridors and 22 manifestation fields of the Akasha middle God worlds. These are the codes that will allow you not only to go through using the Vikas into the Ekas, but then you can use the Ekas to go up into Akasha level. Eka code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 24th subharmonic activation of the 24-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional 24 subharmonic phase, 2 Imanu Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 24 subharmonic gates to the 22 manifestation fields of the Akasha middle God worlds. Eka code activation allows beings with less than 24 active strands of base 24 DNA to link into the base 24 inner lower God world planetary fields for temporary shift into the Akasha worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Scepters. The 12 scepter codes, Ekashare codes. These apply to DNA template strands 2 to 26. Full activation opens the radial body Ekashare passages between the 4 Akasha middle God world corridors and the 4 Ekashare spectra and 96 manifestation fields of the Ekashare higher God worlds. Scepter code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 36th subharmonic activation of the 36-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activating of the 12-dimensional 36 subharmonic phase, 3 Emmanuel Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 36 subharmonic gates to the 96 manifestation fields of the Ekashare higher God worlds. Scepter code activation also allows beings with less than 36 active strands of base 36 DNA to link into the base 36 Akasha middle God world planetary fields for temporary shift into the Ekashare worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. The 12 scepter codes also allow beings within all of the heavens and God worlds to bioenergetically link into the Ryush pillar scepter arcs of the planetary galactic universal God world Cruxensation fields from the cosmic radial body for various reasons, such as direct manifestation through Sayur sculpting, protection from localized planetary influences, acceleration of the evolutionary cycle through time leap, relocation to other time matrices via host matrix contracts, or Eka evacuation from distressed planetary environments. Eka codes and scepter codes have to do with activations in the bioenergetic fields, in the radial body, and in the DNA and the consciousness that make the difference between being stuck in the 7 higher or lower heavens down here in our 15D time matrix, or being able to go into the God worlds. Both Vika and Eka codes must reach a critical mass of sustainable activation within the personal DNA template before activation of the scepter codes can occur. Activation of the Vika, Eka, and scepter codes properly awakens the 12 Ryush scepters in the body to build the Akasha Merkaba and merge personal radial body levels. Ryushas, codes of the Templar, govern the Ekashara level. Once sustainable activation of the 12 Ekashare scepter codes occurs, the 12 Templar Ryush codes of the God Seed Ekashara template pillars, Templars, within the Ekashara God core highest God worlds can begin activation. Templar Ryush code activation in the DNA template creates temporary 48th subharmonic activation of the 48-strand DNA template and corresponding temporary activation of the 12-dimensional 48 subharmonic phase for Immanuel's Akasha Merkaba vehicle. The vehicle needed to pass through the base 12, 48 subharmonic gates to the infinite manifestation fields of the Akashara God core, from which all other cosmic matrices can be accessed. Templar Ryush code activation also allows beings with less than 48 active strands of base 48 DNA to link into the base 48 Akashara God core planetary galactic universal fields for temporary shift into the Akashara worlds with the planetary radial body during stellar activation cycles. Density lock seal and heliotalic passage. We have gates and locks, and keys, the specific mathematical patterns in our shields that when turned on run the specific frequencies that create the correct vibrations to open the locks and the gates that allow us to pass. Those keys are expressed as symbols, consolidated, compact, mathematical symbol codes. These symbols are the mathematical programs that when run through your consciousness into the right parts of your body and your template, will activate the corresponding frequencies. Every symbol has a tone, a sound vibration that goes with it. Using either a symbol or a tone, or both, that is the key for one of the locks or the gates, you could hum yourself through a star gate. You don't have to have all sorts of fancy calculators to keep track of really wild mathematics for you. It's that simple. The ancient sciences are as complex as you want them to be. Every one of these symbols can be translated numerically, but not with numbers here. It's a base 12 system, and literally, the math here isn't big enough to translate the mathematics of these. These are like megacomputer programs that make our computers look like tiny little calculators compared to them. So, when we work with the symbol codes, we are working with the keys to the gates and to the locks. The locks become very important. If you can open the locks, they trigger the opening of the gates. So, when we're working with building our own flame bodies and getting our template activated as fast as possible, the fastest thing to work with are the lock codes. They will create more rapid template activation and more rapid shield activation than using the gate codes themselves that are coded into the body. Opening of the Vika density lock seals in the Eka Vika body is the first step to initiate Eucatharista flame body activation. Vika and Eka codes open the shield templates to transcendent Eucatharista body life source currents for flame body activation. Vika codes open the radial body locks between the Vika quadrants and the Eka core of the Eka Vika body, allowing passage of the heliotalic currents into the manifest density body. Eka codes open the radial body locks between the Eka Vika body level 1 and the Akasha body level 2 of the Eucatharista flame body. Flame body activation occurs through depolarization of density radial body levels and merger of corresponding levels of consciousness and auric field. When Vika codes are fully activated, the radial body levels merge to form the Cruxensation Akasha Merkaba field. Vika codes are also one set of the flame codes, which are also Eucatharista shield codes. 5 sets of Eucatharista shield codes open the flow of primal life force and life source currents between each of the standing wave flame body spheres of the Eucatharista body and God source. The 5 sets are the Vika, Eka, Scepter, Templar Ryush, and Christ codes. The shield codes are also called heliotalic passage codes. Vika codes open radial bodies between the Vika and Eka. Eka codes open radial bodies between the Eka and Akasha. Scepter codes open radial bodies between the Akasha and Ekeshe. Templar Ryush codes open radial bodies between the Ekeshe and Ekeshara. Christ codes open flow between the Ekeshara and life source. The Eucatharista shield codes are encoded within the scalar templates of the dimensional and density shields and replicated within the axiom and DNA templates as dimensional fire letters, subfrequency bands. The shield codes, access to Eucatharista body currents and flame body activation remains dormant until Eucatharista shield codes are brought into activation via flame body technologies. Flame body activation initiates the flow of Eka heliotalic and Eucatharista currents within the axiom and DNA template and axiom lines, initiating corresponding life source current activation within the atomic connection in preparation for biophysical cellular activation of ethos-etheric and transcendent flame body currents. The linking sequence technique series of Cathara 2 shield technologies followed by the consolidated Vika code induction, Vika Mahadra 1212 cosmic Christ electrical, are sufficient to initiate subharmonic activation of the Ekavika shield codes to initiate Ekavika flame body subharmonic activation. Sustained application of flame body activation technique 8, when used with Vika code technologies, progressively activates the personal ionic shield, trivector-based 12 Akasha Merkaba vehicle and personal crux sensata, Manu window, around the physical body and within the nucleic core of atoms. Sustained activation of the full Amore EA flame body for a period of 4 to 6 years transforms the personal bioenergetic field into a walking portal safe zone that is capable of interfacing directly with the universal Stargate system from any Earth location. Once fully activated, going into the full atomic core, you become a gate site. Once ascended out of a 15-dimensional Vika universe time matrix, further ascension into full at-one-ment with Source can be achieved through progressive activation building of the Eka, Akasha, Ekasha-A, Ekasha-A, Eucatharista eternal flame bodies.